Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube channel of Sri Swaminarayan Physiotherapy College, Ahmedabad. I'm Dr. Kamal Zaiwala and I'm here with a video on spinal pathologies. In this video, I'll be covering disc herniation, spondylolysis and spondylolisthesis. Coming to the lumbar disc herniation first, in disc herniation, the intervertebral disc will bulge out from either the posterior end or the posterolateral end. If it bulges out from the posterior end, then it will compress or irritate the spinal cord, and if it bulges out from the posterolateral end, then in that case it will either irritate or compress the nerve root. There are four stages of disc herniation. First is degeneration, second is prolapse, third is extrusion, and fourth is sequestration. In the first stage of degeneration, the innermost layer of the annulus fibrosus becomes weak and it breaks, because of which the nucleus pulposus will just start migrating to the periphery from the center. In the prolapse stage, the innermost layers of the annulus fibrosus will break, which will bring the nucleus pulposus to the outermost end, but the outermost fibrous layer of the disc of annulus fibrosus does not degenerate or does not break. So the nucleus pulposus is still contained inside the disc. In the third stage of extrusion, the nucleus pulposus comes out of the disc, that is, the outermost fibrous layer of the annulus fibrosus also breaks, because of which the material of nucleus pulposus will extrude out of the intervertebral disc. And in the last stage of sequestration, the outermost layer is already broken, so the nucleus pulposus will get into fragments, and that fragments will enter the spinal canal and will irritate either nerve roots in the chorda equina or it can irritate the spinal cord. Patients with disc herniation will generally show symptoms of radiculopathy in one or both the limbs, depending on the site at which the herniation has occurred. The patient's complaint of pain is generally that of Lapkara, which is also known as sharp shooting pain. Generally, the patient's pain shows dermatomal pattern here. The dermatome which is supplied by that nerve root shows decrease in the sensation, and the pain area is also very much present in that dermatomal area. If the compression is very severe, then in that case, the patient may show symptoms of reduced muscle strength of the myotomes supplied by that nerve root. We generally tend to get confused in the nerve root level. So if the disc between the L4 and L5 vertebrae that gets herniated, then it will compress the L4 nerve root. Generally, the cause of disc herniation is increase in the intradiscal pressure. Here is a chart which shows different activities that increase the intradiscal pressure. So according to the chart, we can know that when a person is in the sitting position and if you lift anything from the ground by bending your back forward, then that will produce maximum pressure or maximum increase in the intradiscal pressure. Next comes lifting up any object from the floor in the standing position by bending forward, which is the second most strenuous activity for the back or for increase in the intradiscal pressure. Then comes bending forward with sitting without lifting anything from the floor, and then comes standing and bending forward and sitting position. So that is why it is said that sitting position should not be advised to patients with disc pathologies. Then as we go down, the least pressure is present in the supine lying position and the side lying position. So that is why generally patients with disc prolapse or disc herniation are advised to take bed rest in supine or side lying positions. Now coming to spondylolysis. Spondylolysis. Lysis means breakdown. So if there is a break in the pars interarticularis, it is known as spondylolysis. This defect can be either unilateral or it can be present on both the sides, that is, it can be bilateral. Generally, the patient with spondylosis will complain of localized pain in the lumbar spine, which will either increase or decrease after the activity. The alignment of the spine generally remains normal, the flexion range of motion will be normal, whereas the extension range of motion will be restricted. And the neurological tests generally come out to be negative in case of spondylolysis. The very typical characteristic of spondylolysis on X-ray is Scotty dog appearance with a collar. So, the very typical characteristic of spondylolysis is localized pain in the lumbar spine, which is increasing or decreasing after the activity, and on X-ray we may found Scotty dog with a collar appearance. Now coming to spondylolisthesis. Listhesis means slipping of one vertebrae over the other. This slipping can be either in the anterior direction or it can be in the posterior direction. If the slipping of the vertebrae is in anterior direction, it is known as enterolisthesis, whereas if the slipping occurs in the posterior direction, then it is known as retrolisthesis. Generally, the pain with spondylolisthesis is more as compared to spondylolysis, and spondylolisthesis may and may not occur along with spondylolysis. Neurological signs may be present if the displacement is of grade 3 or grade 4 type. Generally on examination, we will be able to see step of deformity in case of spondylolisthesis. Generally, there are 4 grades of spondylolisthesis. In grade 1, there is 25% of slippage. In grade 2, there is up to 50% of slippage. In grade 3, there is 75% of slippage, and in grade 4, there is almost 76 to 100% of slippage. The 100% of slippage is known as grade 5 spondylolisthesis, or it is also known as spondyloptosis. Thank you so much for listening to this video, and in this video I have covered only 3 spinal pathologies. For the rest to come, stay tuned. And to get regular updates, kindly like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.